morning. Happy Friday. Fliege Day. Amazon. Flash briefing.
Jamie, getting your flash briefing.
Weekend on
In
the way.
NPR News.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. There are excessive heat advisories and warnings posted in several states today, from California to Texas. Heat indexes could be as much as 118 degrees in southern Texas. National Weather Service meteorologist Frank Pereira says dangerous conditions in the southwest will last for days.
We're expecting an extremely dangerous heat wave to build over the southwest through the remainder of the week into the weekend, and likely that's going to peak in intensity on Sunday for much of the region. And we're expecting dangerous heat actually to continue beyond that into next week for parts of the region.
Dangerous heat also extends to Oklahoma, Louisiana, and parts of southern Florida. The National Weather Service says about 100 million people in the U.S. are under some kind of heat caution. Meanwhile, forecasters say parts of the Northeast could get heavy rain this weekend. That includes Vermont, still recovering from devastating flooding a few days ago. Vermont authorities now say one man drowned in flash flooding this week. Senate Democrats say they're working to advance the National Defense Authorization Act. It funds defense agencies. NPR's Winslow Johnston reports lawmakers in the House and Senate are haggling over numerous amendments to the bill.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says negotiators from both parties will work through the weekend to fine-tune amendments to the defense authorization bill. Schumer says lawmakers need to address a number of issues that will be central for final approval.
We must consider Chinese government competition factors.
We must consider the Australia, United Kingdom, and United States submarine deal. I know there will be more to do here next week, and I look forward to the debate on the floor.
Schumer says he's aiming for a first vote on the bill on Tuesday. Lawmakers in the House are working on their own version of the legislation and have clashed this week on a number of amendments put forth by a group of ultra-conservative Republicans. Windsor Johnston, NPR News.
Stocks opened higher this morning as some of the nation's big banks reported a big jump in profits. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose about 162 points in early trading.
Stock in JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo gained ground this morning as the banks reported robust profits for the most recent quarter. Rising interest rates have boosted the bank's bottom lines. Profits at JP Morgan Chase were up 67%. Wells Fargo's earnings jumped 57%. Wells Fargo also set aside more money for loan loss reserves in anticipation of possible losses on commercial real estate loans and credit card debt. Asian stocks were mostly up overnight. And San Francisco's Anchor Brewing Company is shutting down. The 127-year-old beer maker, which helped to revitalize craft brewing in the 1970s, has halted production, although you can still find a cold one at the company's tap room while supplies last. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington. Russian President Vladimir Putin is threatening to pull out of a UN-backed deal to allow Ukraine to export grain through the Black Sea. As NPR's Charles Maines reports from Moscow, the grain agreement has helped alleviate a global food crisis, but is set to expire next week.
In an interview on Russian state television, President Putin said the UN grain deal was, quote, one-sided to benefit Ukraine, that nothing had been done to address Russia's concerns. Putin said Moscow could suspend participation in the agreement when it comes up for renewal this Monday. Russia has repeatedly threatened to leave the deal over complaints the agreement allows Ukraine to export grain, but has failed to remove sanctions-related barriers that hinder the export of Russian agricultural products. Ukraine and its Western allies counter the Kremlin, deliberately sabotaging the agreement and weaponizing food resources in a bid for sanctions relief. Charles Maines, NPR News, Moscow.
India has successfully launched a space probe that's headed for the moon. Scientists at the Indian Space Research Organization cheered at liftoff.
All nations have citizens that need to get paid for exporting grain.
The Indian probe is headed for the moon's south pole, and it is set to arrive next month. Unionized actors are on strike against Hollywood studios. They're seeking improved wages, and the SAG-AFTRA union wants to protect actors from being replaced by artificial intelligence. A note, NPR Newsroom staff are members of SAG-AFTRA, but are not subject to the contract in dispute. I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News in Washington.
Actors, come on.
This message comes from NPR sponsor,
They
American
don't look
Cancer
that
Society.
real. Something
No
goes
one
wrong.
ever wants to hear that someone they care about is struggling through their cancer
And why would
journey.
you have to
At the
do
American
robot
Cancer
actors?
Society, they
You
work
wanna do
to
a
make
movie?
sure no one
Today's
has to hear
modern
it again.
technology?
Learn more at cancer.org.
Amazon. Skip. Today's
In
technology.
NASA news,
You
NASA has awarded the sounding
GFI,
rocket
all that
operations
crap.
4
You don't need an actual
04
robot.
contract to
You
Peraton
can make a whole movie
Incorporated of
that way.
Herndon, Virginia, to support suborbital flight operations managed by the agency's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. Media are invited to join NASA and Small
Digital
Business
movies.
Administration leadership at 9:30 a.m. EDT on Tuesday, July 18th at NASA headquarters in Washington to highlight how federal agencies rank on meeting their small business goals. NASA will host a pair of news conferences Tuesday, July 25th at the agency's Johnson Space Center in Houston to highlight upcoming crew rotations missions to the International Space Station. NASA will host a media teleconference at 10 a.m. EDT on Tuesday, July 18th to discuss the next science investigations bound for the International Space Station aboard Northrop Grumman's Cygnus spacecraft
Yeah, we
in the company's
investigated rocks and
19th
sand.
commercial
Next,
resupply
we're
mission
going to
for
investigate
NASA.
atmosphere. Oh yeah.
NASA has awarded Axiom Space and Collins Aerospace task orders under existing contracts to advance spacewalking capabilities in
Send
low
up
Earth
there
orbit, as well as
Rovers that walk
moonwalking
around
services for
measuring
Artemis
the
missions.
atmospheric
In weather,
phenomena.
in Seattle, it's 65 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies and sun. Today's forecast calls for more of the same, with a high of 81 degrees and a low of 59 degrees.
All right,
From
Amazon.
NASA has
Amazon.
awarded the sounding rock.
Off. Amazon. Tell us a joke.
What do pro wrestlers eat for lunch?
What?
A Hulk Hogan.
Pro wrestlers eat a Hulk Hogan for lunch? Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't think he was a crude. You seen that man? How physically fit he is in his older age? Sheesh. Alright. Anyways. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy it. Family, friends, good times. Sitting at home relaxing. Getting a little sun. In the shade. A hammock. I don't know. Walking the beach. You know. You do you.